After all that wine, I hope it's the roses I'm cutting and not my fingers. And you'll see when I cut the stem of the rose, I cut it at an angle to make sure that the rose can hydrate water. And because of the heat outside, I have a pail here that has a bit of water in the bottom of it. The flowers really are exquisite here. You see, I'm cutting the roses right at the base here, so it can grow again without hacking it. Beautiful. Well, as you can see, I've been enjoying myself and having a creative moment, especially with these beautiful Cape Garden roses. They're quite spectacular. The flowers I've used here, this is a rose called Duet. This is called My Grandmother. We have it in two different colors, in the cream and the white. This is the heliotrope, some white hydrangea, and some lavender. And as you can see, I arranged them very spring-like and very natural in this blue porcelain container. Another gorgeous blue Chinese porcelain container. I put some oasis inside to make sure that I can get the flowers to perform the way that I want to. This will be the center of the table, and the two other pieces will flank the sides. I'm going to start my shape, set a height for this. Basically, I never keep this much taller than my elbow, just to make sure you want to see one another. Beautiful flowers are wonderful, but there's nothing worse than sitting at a dinner table where you can't see or look into the eyes of the person around next to you at the table. Now, with a nice distribution of pink, I can start to fill in with some other colors. Maybe bring in some hydrangea, nice big waxy leaves. You can see how this is starting to drip down the side of the container. And I'm trying to keep it as natural as possible, keeping the bush-like form to it, so nature can do its best. Bring in some of the iceberg. That is magnificent. Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? You notice I keep on turning the arrangement around. This is to make sure that I can keep the shape all the way around. We can add some lavender. It's a lovely silvery grey contrast. Now I have my basic shape. I just want to start filling in and using textures like this to give it a bit more dimension and texture. I haven't packed this too tight. It is rather airy as well. Flowers can breathe. It's not too contrived. I just love the way these white roses are spilling in the front here. I think we're done. And now I need to go and set a beautiful table. To set the table, we scoured all the antique markets and came up with a wonderful mismatched collection of items. None of these are indigenous to South Africa. They were all brought here at some stage or another by the settlers. So some of the china that we have is French, some of it is English. In terms of the silverware, some of it is English, some of it is Dutch, and some of it is German as well. For the napkin rings, these are all vintage, beautiful old mismatched silver napkin rings, as are the napkins. These are really beautiful old vintage salt and pepper shakers, butter dishes. This gardening setting is so magical that I didn't for 1 second think of dining inside. It's beautiful, the flowers are in bloom, we have these wonderful big market umbrellas to give us some shade. I've picked these long, delicious vines to make it look a bit more natural. I love this big bench for seating for one half of the table, gorgeous garden chairs for the other half. Everything on the table is old and vintage, it's all been collected. Beautiful love and care went into the making of this tablecloth, and I'm happy to be able to use it. We have a satellite station set up here for coffee and for our wines, which we're going to enjoy with our lunch. And I really think the table looks spectacular. I'm excited to see my friends again. Now I'm going to go and get dressed.